Yolanda and Cornelius Show, a Christian perspective on hot topics surrounding our community, with emphasis on personal and leadership development. This show is inspiring, informative, and entertaining. You never want to miss it. Now let's see what everyone is yakking about. The Yolanda and Cornelius Show. You may contact us through our website, www.trifoldoutreach.com, or by phone, 800-664-1793.
Hey, welcome to the Yolanda and Cornelius Show. It is May Day, the month of May, and we are grateful for Apple, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio. For those tuning in by iHeartRadio, give us about 2 hours, and it should be on iHeartRadio. May Day. It is the month of May. I have my lovely sister with me, Shawana Canty League. We are grateful for her endeavors as it relates to mental health. She has her own soon to become LLC. Is it LLC yet?
Not yet.
Yeah, but it's coming. So hey, people, shout out to her, the things that she is doing down in the Columbia area, Columbia, Murray County, and across Middle Tennessee. We want to, without further ado, I've done all of that kind of backwards, but it is what it is. We're actually getting some other apparatuses set up because we want to hear what her friend, mental health counselor, said earlier today in the interview. And we need you to go back and hear and watch the interview via Facebook. So what's up, sis? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm doing fantabulous. It's Mental Health Awareness Month. It's May. We are in the thick of things as it relates to mental health and depression. I am so excited about what is happening in the life of my sister and Grace. All of those wonderful things. Just kind of follow up to give people in the podcast land what you were doing on Facebook about an hour ago and who you were talking to.
Hello, everyone. My name is Shawana Canty League. As my brother stated earlier, I am the founder of Grace, Girls Reaching, Achieving Courage Every Day. The month of May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So for 2 years, this is our third year, we've brought awareness to mental illness. We want to educate the masses, and we also want to take the stigma off of mental illness. I had Dr. Letizia Smith. She is a licensed psychiatric nurse practitioner. She has been in the medical field with the mental illness for over 12 years now. And she will be on my Facebook Live, Shawana Canty. That is Shawana, last name Canty. And she's going to educate us, guys, so we can educate others in order to take the stigma off. So she's going to be talking about depression, stress, and anxiety. And as we know, with anxiety, there are a lot of clusters that fall under anxiety. So I sent her some questions, and she is going once again to educate us. And we're going to be talking about depression, stress, and the 3 clusters that I chose under anxiety is panic attacks, generalized anxiety, and situational anxiety. She's going to tell us about the medication, the proper treatment plan. And guys, I want you to understand she is a mental health nurse, a psychiatric nurse. She has a doctor's degree. She is able to administer medication, and she does that. But the information that you will gather from my Facebook Live is just to educate you. Please seek professional help from a licensed psychiatrist before doing anything that you retrieve from our website. Once again, please go to your licensed psychiatrist. If you don't have a licensed psychiatrist, you can go to a therapist or your primary care provider, and they will lead you into the right direction. We are not telling you what type of medication to take. We are just here to educate you in order to educate the masses. As a Black woman living in a Black community, we do not talk about mental illness. Guys, I know within our culture we have high blood pressure and diabetes. And with that being said, you go to your primary care physician. You retrieve the medications that they give to you. You listen to their recommendations. You educate your family. You do all the things that you need to do to live a functional, healthy life. I want you to understand that your brain is an organ, and it forms and it works like all the other organs in your body. And so I need for you to understand that if you're having a chemical imbalance within your brain, I need for you to seek help.
Let me ask you a question, sis. I mean, you're on a roll and you're doing great. Let's back up. There were 3 anxieties that you've mentioned.
Yes.
Situational. What was the other 2?
Socialized anxiety is what, generalized anxiety and panic attacks.
Okay, see, I mean, for me as a layman, that's just one thing, but you have even educated me as a professional who deals with people's spirit and soul and body and mind. I don't even look at anxiety in those different compartments. So thank you for just bringing that to our attention, because, hey, it's all anxiety to me. But you said it's generalized and it's socialized, and then you have these panic attacks. And we know often people suffer from panic attacks. And we really just write that off. It'll get better after 3 or 4, 5 minutes. Take your deep breath, drink your water. But panic attacks is something serious, huh?
Oh, absolutely. And it looks different on everybody. Just like if you have a high blood pressure, diabetes, looks different on different people, and they have to take different medication. My dad has high blood pressure, so his medication differs from somebody else's with high blood pressure. But and his signs and symptoms may be a lot different.
Right.
So with generalized anxiety, you're always worried about something, no matter what. Yeah, everything can be great, but some people call it a worry wart,
A worry wart.
Yeah.
Never heard of it, but I love it. A worry wart.
So it's generalized. So it's that particular diagnosis. People are normally treated with therapy and prescription. Socialized anxiety, you a lot of people don't want to be around a lot of people. That gives them anxiety. Situational anxiety is something that I think a lot of us really deal with. If your husband is out here acting all sorts of crazy, or your wife, or your children, the situation is creating anxiety.
Wow.
And that one in particular is not normally treated by medication because it's not generalized, it's not everlasting.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
It makes sense. But
and then the anxiety causes panic attacks.
Okay.
So in the panic attacks, I've heard people describe it differently. Some people break out in sweat. Some people can't breathe. Some people say they feel like they're about to die. So once again, it affects everybody differently.
Hey, I'm just in awe of the situation, generalized panic attacks, all of these things, the worry wart. These are terminologies that I have to incorporate into the life of the people that I serve.
Absolutely.
So that they can be better educated. Let me ask you this question. About 2 or 3 questions, and we'll shut it down. And once again, if you want to be a blessing to Grace, before I ask these questions, how do they connect with Grace?
They can connect with Grace through my Facebook. Once again, Shawana, Shawana. Last name Canty. That is Facebook. You can also follow me on my Instagram. It's s.c._love. Again, s.c._love.
Got it. You and I, she's just a few years behind me, but we would have been in school together. Tell me this. Why has the African American community been so hesitant to address mental illness? in your experience?
Oh yeah, that's a great question.
I'm serious because we grew up, in the same context, and
that's a great question.
We talked about.
Well, earlier this week, I had Professor Anna Bug, and she talked about schizophrenia. And then we had Tamara Givens from a mother perspective. Her son was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and then we had her son. He shared his story, how he is functional. He's living a functional life with schizophrenia. So with that being said,
he's actually a member of the church.
He's a member of your church. Mm-hmm. So is Tamara. Wonderful, right. Wonderful. She's my spiritual sister. But what I want to say is, I know we all have seen people in our neighborhood growing up, and they were different. And we would ask our parents, what happened to them? Our parents would always say, oh, they had a nervous breakdown, or somebody put something and they drank. They used to be whatever normal is considered. They went off to college and got crazy and wild, and they never been the same. So some of those things may be true. Some people may have a breakdown and not recover from their mental breakdown. Mm-hmm. This is true. Some people may go to college or at a club, and people put something in their drink, and they may not never be who they used to be prior to that drug. Mm-hmm. And then we also have those people that have a chemical imbalance in their brain, and it normally comes around the age of 15 to 25. So your child or your friend or whoever can be functioning normally. They can be honor student, overachievers, do everything, and they can go off to college. I will have a social worker. He's diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. He will be on the end of the month, and he graduated from Belmont. And once again, he's a social worker, and he had his first psychiatric breakdown at Belmont. And he has been on 20 different medications before he got the right one. And he lives a functional life, and he is married. So to answer your question, I think when we find out that someone in our family in the African American community has been diagnosed with mental illness, I think we go through a lot of grief. I think the first one is denial. I think we're in denial because we're not educated. We don't understand it. Mental health is very confusing. It is hard to understand. So I think the first one is lack of knowledge. I think the second one is denial. And I think the third one is embarrassment. I think that we are embarrassed because back in the day, we would have our uncles or granddaddies in the room.
Let's put them in the back room.
Yeah, because we didn't know how to deal with it. We knew not to
go back there.
We knew not to go back there because you didn't know what he or she may do. So we didn't educate ourselves. And I think it's just once you know better, you do better type of thing.
Correct.
I think that our generation has gotten wiser. I think with all the celebrities coming out, telling their stories, it's helping. I just think that back in the day, and then, we African American people, we have always held on to our faith and prayed away or lay hands on the sick and they shall be healed. And yes, I am a believer, and I know God is above all things, but he also gives us wisdom and knowledge to take medications and seek out therapy. So to answer your question again, I think it's lack of knowledge and understanding.
Right. And the embarrassment. And
denial.
Yeah.
I mean, who wants to see a loved one suffer for mental illness? It's nothing that loved one did to cause it. Let me just say that. If you are someone, a mother, a father, please understand if your child has been diagnosed with mental illness, you did not cause it. It is a mental condition. It's chemical imbalance within the brain. There's nothing that you did to cause it. Now, sometimes it is genetic and it is environmental. So, wow. But it just depends on the individual. So keep that in mind.
Well, when you talk about things being genetic and environmental, that's a whole different conversation. Yeah. Like we need to just sit down one day and talk about some of our genetic tendencies.
Oh, absolutely.
Quote unquote spirits. I'm going to call it what it is. Generational curses.
Absolutely.
It's genetic.
It's genetic.
It
can be genetic.
It can be.
And it can be drug induced.
Yeah. Yeah, for those who
it's guys,
it's a lot of things.
It's a lot of things. And it's just like when you're talking about mental illness, I want you to realize that Alzheimer's and dementia, that's also a mental illness, okay? And people suffering from mental illness, like schizophrenia, they see and hear things that are not real, just like someone from dementia may be doing the same thing. But we don't label people with dementia crazy. So why do we do that with people that's living with schizoaffected or schizophrenia? Same signs and symptoms, same chemical imbalance. And guys, did you know that you can't clinical diagnose someone with Alzheimer's until you do an autopsy? So when someone has Alzheimer's, you cannot diagnose them with having Alzheimer's until after death.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, it's inhumane to go into a human's brain, and do whatever to see why they have what they have,
Right.
So that's inhumane. We are not able to do that. So that's why it's so hard, guys, to understand mental illness. That's why it's so hard to understand mental illness. And that's why Grace is doing our very best to reach the masses. And that's why we're doing our very best to educate as many people as possible and to take the stigma off mental illness. And that's our goal. And we will not stop. We can't stop, and we won't stop.
Well, I do know this part of your testimony. Growing up, teenagers, dating, the things that we do, how we get caught up.
Yeah.
That's situational as well. Help me unpack that as it relates to how Shawana got to where she is, to the place that she is mentally healthy from some of those scars and scabs that has been embedded in your soul and spirit. Oh,
absolutely. So I was raised in a wonderful home. Great home. My dad.
Kudos.
Yeah, Mary and Grady. So my dad was a deacon. His dad was a pastor. My godmother was a pastor. Her mother was the first female original bishop, original Church of God. So I got pregnant at the age of 16, so that didn't look good in the original Church of God at all.
Oh my God. The holiness church. Yes,
sanctified. Yes. And so that was very difficult. I was ashamed. And I'm probably dealt with a little depression, I would say, because of
embarrassment.
Oh my God, embarrassment. And because I let everybody down. My dad didn't speak for me living in the same house for 3 months. So that was very difficult. Fast forward, the reason Grace came about, girls reach and achieve and courage every day. I was in an abusive relationship for 3 years, and I suppressed that from the age of 16 to 18. I suppressed it. No one knew about that. And so I went about my life like everything was normal, and I suppressed it, did not talk about it. Fast forward, I got into another relationship, and somebody, that guy, put a gun to my head after I broke up with him. Never talked about it, suppressed it. So when I got into occupational therapist assistance program in my early 20s, I was having some panic attacks, and I was like, okay, what's happening here? I thought something was wrong with my heart, and I do have an irregular heartbeat. So I went to my doctor, and they's like, well, you have an irregular heartbeat, but I think you're suffering from a panic attacks. And I said, well, not me, because, I'm saved, and I'm full with the Holy Spirit, and I'm sanctified.
But what does it have to do with anything?
In my mind. But I'm just telling you, this is transparent. This is vulnerable.
Right.
So in my mind, I'm like, no, Christians don't have anxiety, honey. We pray to Jehovah Jireh, our provider, and he supplies all of our needs according to our riches and glory in Christ Jesus. So my mind is sound and stayed on the Lord. So she said, okay, well, that's okay. So I went, and she told me to start journaling, and I said, I'll do that anyway. And I went to a therapist, and I think I was 26 or 27 when I started seeing a therapist. And she said, well, tell me about yourself. And I started telling her about myself. I said, well, I'm great. I mean, I'm in therapy school. I'm a single mom. My son is a straight A student. I have great parents. And then I told her that I was adopted, and I told her that story, which is a whole nother story in itself. And she said, well, let's start there.
She wanted to start there?
Yes, because that was what I dealt with. I grew up not knowing who, my family, my biological family was. So that was deep.
Wow.
And how I came into the world is extremely deep. So
we'll talk about that.
That's what I'm saying. No, that's what I'm saying. So what I'm saying, you asked the question, so I'm giving you the answer. Yeah. So that's where she wanted to start. You don't start right now. Because now didn't get you right now. Right, you know what I mean? It's your past.
She went and dealt with all of that.
Yeah, and then I told her about being in an abusive relationship and being pregnant at 16. And then that's when she said, oh, and so you think it's okay to suppress all those feelings and you never told anybody about any of those things? And I said, absolutely not. And so from then on, I was seeing my therapist once a week, and I was able to get to know my unknown self. I was able to disclose some things and release some things within myself that helped me get to where I am. So I don't take medication
anymore, or haven't ever.
She prescribed me.
Right.
I think Prozac or Zoloft or something, and I didn't like it. And so, because anybody know me know that I love to be in control of everything. I want nothing to control me. And she...
Not even her big brother.
Exactly.
Or her husband.
He doesn't control me, but he is the head of my...
Had to throw that in there.
Of my household.
Look at me. Not nobody gets to control sis. See, look.
My husband is the head of my household.
Look, see,
my husband is the head of my... I am a submissive wife because my husband treats me as Christ treats the church. Okay, thank you.
We're about to wrap it up, though. It's all good. We gonna talk. Look, this is us. Look.
Sibling talk. So, yeah.
That's Twitter. Say hello to Twitter.
Hello, Twitter. So, that's my story. I see a therapist maybe, I don't know, once a month or whenever I feel like I need to. I was not diagnosed with generalized anxiety. It was just life. So, I don't have a clinical diagnosis. I'm not clinically diagnosed with anything. It's just called life. And sometimes we have stressors in our life, and we may have to take something to bring it down. And I think I took it a couple months and I functioned properly. I mean, I'm no clinical diagnoses, but the Lord is faithful. But for those that may have one, do what your doctor tells you to do.
Wonderful. Hey, y'all, we about to get out of here. I'm leaving you with this quote. John Lennon from the Beatles said, "Life is what happens when you're making other plans." This is Mental Health Awareness Month. Sometimes we've made other plans to do everything possibly to be successful, to be strive to do all the things right, but life happens. And during this Mental Health Awareness Month, we all just want you to be aware that we're trying to erase the stigma. So to my Twitter family, thank you for tuning in. To my podcast family, thank you for tuning in. We want you to hook up with Miss Yolanda Canty. When we do this again, we're going to bring our special guest on as well. And hopefully next time all of our technological devices will be working so that you and I and her can best serve the people. Hey, mental health awareness, as I always come in saying, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. It is Mayday. Take care of your mind. And remember, Jesus loves you with you being who you are. It's okay to be not. It's okay not to be okay, and we want you to get the help. All right, Twitter, we getting off here. I'm gonna do some more things on the podcast. Share this. Be blessed. Now, sis, as we about to get out of here, tell them again how they can hook up with you.
You can hook up with me through Facebook, Shawana, Shawana, last name Canty, Canty, Instagram, s.c._love. Peace and blessings to you and your family. May the peace of God continue to rest upon each and every one of you until we meet again. God bless you.
Hey, folks, Mental Health Awareness Month. It is what it is. Let's take this thing seriously. And, welcome you to your first ever podcast live.
Oh, hey, Apple.
Everybody, because we don't know who's listening to this. because this is everywhere going across the world. And hey, next week y'all will be in India. So hopefully this goes to India next week. So welcome. And we got to get you a handle, sis. You know, this is the Yolanda and Cornelius show. But we got to get you a handle so when you come on, hey, we'll be fresh. Hey, y'all, we're done. We're getting out of here. Mental Health Awareness Month. We want you to take care of your mind, your body, and your soul. Peace and blessings.
Thank you for listening to the Yak, the Yolanda and Cornelius show. Please check out our website at www.tribaloutreach.com. Yolanda and Cornelius are gifted speakers, counselors, and life coaches, and would love to speak at one of your upcoming events. You may reach them by email at trifoldoutreach@yahoo.com or by phone 1-800-664-1793. Remember to do justice, to love kindness, and walk humbly with your God.